Last week on Connected was a trip back in time to the 80s arcade games, and this week, the future with Fruit Ninja and Jetpack Joyrider games guru, Luke Muscat. He's no Rambo, he's not even Johnny English, but he is our Hinksy, and this week he's out on a limb in a nail-biting cliffhanger. And we chat with a Brisbane artist making a name for herself, painting pets on cushions. It is time to get connected. Local artist Kylie Farrelly has been bringing Brisbane to life, encapsulating the energy of our vibrant city within her art studio. Now, starting out as a teacher in schools across Queensland, Kylie has turned her passion into a vibrant career, spanning many exhibitions, and teaches people of all ages the joys of painting. And I'm very pleased to say she joins us in the studio. How are you, Kylie?
Really well, thank you.
How did it all start for you?
I think I was colouring in since I was, knee-high to a grasshopper.
Yeah, so it's always been in something in the family?
Always something I've loved, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's progressed now to obviously teaching, a very important fact because, encouraging young people especially to get involved in it.
Oh, absolutely. That's my background, teaching in high school, and had my kids decided to jump out of that, and I've been teaching, I guess, a lot of primary school kids now, but some of my students are in their 80s as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, of course, teaching in primary schools, you've done, as you said, a lot, 7 or 8 years you've spent doing that?
Yeah, I taught in high school, and then I've transitioned into primary where I teach art business outside of school. So I go 3 days a week to a primary school and teach.
Great. So is it better to teach primary school or senior students?
You capture them when they're little, when they have no hang-ups about, I can't draw that, I can't draw that. So they're happy to draw anything. High school are very creative and fantastic to watch them just shine, but I love working with the little ones. Yeah. It's good fun.
Of course, when you started, it was predominantly buildings and cityscapes and things like that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first day I sat in my studio and thought, what am I going to paint? And so I thought, I'm a Brisbane girl, I'll paint what I know.
Yeah.
And it's gone crazy.
Of course, Brisbane now, especially with all the development going on, it must create new work opportunities for you all the time.
Constantly. People are always saying, don't you get bored painting the city? But it's the skyline changes.
Yeah.
Weekly almost, yeah. Of
course, with some of your artworks, and we have some here that you've been nice to bring along, what really struck me first up was the colour that you have in the works.
Yeah, I'm a colourist. I tried to paint black and white or really dull once and that didn't work, so back to bright colours.
Back to the bright colours.
Yeah.
How do you, are you true to the colours and are you true to what you paint? We're seeing a shot here of the Story Bridge or the lead up to it. It looks pretty realistic to me.
Yeah, some are very true. I work from photographs. Photographers allow me to use their images, so I can sit in the studio and do it. But the river is never brown in my paintings. I have used my artistic licence to go some nice blues and greens, but no, some are very similar and others, I guess it depends on your mood too.
And I've never seen the drive up to the Story Bridge that empty of cars either.
No, that's another artistic licence. Drop out a few.
What else do you enjoy painting?
A year or so ago I started painting pet portraits. So puppy dogs, I'm absolutely besotted with my dog. So now that's another little business that I have on the side.
Right, so, and this one you've called Paw Traits, as in P-A-W, traits.
Yes, yeah, bit of fun, play on words. And memorable. I think it's easier to have something that's a good memory for people.
So when people come to you, they give you a photo of their pet and then you go about painting them?
Yeah, absolutely. Not all the pets are with us. Some have crossed the Rainbow Bridge and they're lovely memories for people. example, of their little fur babies. But,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can put them together of those that are living and those that have passed as well.
And you can make them into all sorts of things. We just saw them as cushions.
Yes, yeah, that's good fun.
So what else have people asked you to paint their pets on?
Oh, I've done little mini ones, and then I've done bigger paintings. And look, basically, once I've painted it, I can put it on any product. This day and age of printing is amazing.
That is. So, I mean, really, you could have a paw mug. Or...
You could have a paw pen. I don't know. No idea.
I'm sure you and I could dream up a whole range of products, couldn't we? What about your family? I mean, have they been very supportive of what you do?
Fantastic. I've just recently moved out of my Tenerife studio. I was there for 7 years. And I'm working from my home studio now. It's great just being at home, and I can still run around with the kids, and my husband's happy for me to colour in for a living. It's lovely. Yeah.
And it makes it easier when you're in the home environment. It's a little more relaxing, isn't it?
It is. And I do have to make sure I don't keep doing the washing and housework. I have to set aside painting time and go out, and it is my job, so I have to make sure I do it.
Yeah. How long would it take you to create a work? I mean, we're looking at the cricket now, which you've painted as well. How long would it take you to create something like that?
Oh, look, anywhere between a few hours and 30 hours to something like some of the big city ones. They can take me months just mucking around with, and others come very, very quick.
Yeah,
so,
people don't realise, though, the amount of work that goes into a painting.
No, and you're your hardest critic. You paint, you walk away from it, you're never happy. You get to a stage and you just have to go, I'm done. Like, I'll look at them always and think, oh, if I only just did a little bit more.
Looking at this one, that's one of those cityscapes that I'm gathering would have taken quite some time.
It has, yes. I only finished that about a week ago, and I'm still looking at it thinking I could fiddle a little bit more. I won't. But yeah, that took about at least 20 or so hours, yeah.
Well, of course, anybody can come and learn painting from you as well.
Absolutely.
Because you teach in your home studio.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, of course, they can go onto your website and check out all of the wonderful works and can purchase them as well.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So have a little Brisbane in your home.
It's been a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for coming in. I love the name Portraits as well. I think I'll have to get one of my dog as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Kylie Farrelly joining us there. And, of course, you can check out all of her works online. KylieFarrelly.com.au is the website to go to. And we'll take a break on this edition of Connected. Come back. Hinksy's on a cliffhanger. Find out what that's all about after this. And welcome back to Connected. You know, it always comes to a time in a show when I get a little concerned because it's time to send Hinksy out in the field. Last week we sent him for some retraining and he ended up in the rail workers' yard. Well, this time I made sure there was no doubt. I sent him to where men and women of elite standards practice their crafts every weekend at the Kangaroo Point Cliffs.
I'm Hinksy on a beautiful Saturday at Kangaroo Point Cliffs. So what have they got me doing? Jumping off this. Joyride, Lee. Now that is one of the most strenuous things I think I've done in a while.
It looks easy, doesn't it?
It does. It looks like you're just hanging around on a rope and then you kind of, wing your way down like Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's a mental thing, I think, and it does affect your body when you're doing that. The more you get used to it, the easier it becomes, and you'll find that it does just become natural. It's like walking.
How long have you been doing it for?
I've been climbing in Brisbane for just over 3 years.
Yeah.
Which is not that long as far as climbing experience is concerned. So I'm still a newbie.
But, what I found interesting about, particularly here at the Kangaroo Point Cliffs, there are different levels and people, they're actually signposted so that you check out the different levels of both abseiling and rock climbing. It is terrifying. A lot of people, I guess, I have some issues with height, which scared the absolute hell out of me when you step over that ledge for the first time.
Yep.
What, when you first started, even now, what makes you nervous?
What makes me nervous now is usually either equipment failure, which is incredibly rare because I checked all of this equipment last night and then I checked it this morning and then I checked it again before we jumped off.
Yeah.
So it's rarely ever that, but it's always in the back of my mind.
Probably the biggest question I think anyone's ever asked when it comes to anything like rock climbing or abseiling is why?
Because it's fun.
Well, man, thank you so much for throwing me off this cliff. It really has given me a bit of a buzz for a Saturday morning.
That's okay. Thank you very much
Thanks,
for being
man.
part of it,
That's
giving it a go. You did really, really well today.
I don't know how far to go. How high am I? I'm not going to look down.
You'll be right.
What can I say, Hinksy? Thank goodness he had a professional with him and no reporters were harmed in the making of that story. Well, still to come here on Connected, we are going to catch up with the man responsible for much of my enjoyment and entertainment, the man who created Fruit Ninja. Luke Muscat will be joining us. All that more coming your way on Connected. Oh, sorry. Welcome back to the program. Just playing a little Fruit Ninja, and it's about as popular as Jetpack Joyride. What if I told you, though, that these games were actually created right here in Brisbane by our next guest on the program? Please welcome Luke Muscat. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, but addicted. Is there any help you can give me?
I don't for your addiction problem or to be better at the game?
Of course, that was the Fruit Ninja game was the one that really propelled you guys. Half Brick, which responsible for the game. You were part of developing that as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I was the lead designer and creator of Fruit Ninja and kind of ran the team that did all that in the early days.
Yep.
They're still working on it now. Obviously, no longer a part of that, but by this point, it must be at least 100 people have worked on it.
That's amazing. And how many when you first started? Was it 2 or 3 of you?
There were 3 of us originally, and we made it in 6 weeks. The programmer was only 19 years old, I believe, 19, maybe 20.
Yeah.
He was still very young when he'd made it, so yeah, it was a crazy roller coaster.
Why was it so popular? I mean, what made it go global like it did?
I think it was just such a simple, accessible idea, and it sort of now so many games on the phones are really accessible and people can really pick it up and understand it instantly. But in 2010, when we released it, that was still quite a new idea. And, we did a lot of testing. I got my mum and my grandparents to play the game. People had never even touched a smartphone before. And previously, a lot of the games were very you had to know how to play video games to really get into them. So I think it was that kind of accessibility and it just being bright and fun and simple that really made it take off.
And it was one of the first too.
Yeah, it was very early days.
Yeah.
So.
Was game development something you'd always wanted to do?
It wasn't actually. I always wanted to be a vet.
Well, that's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I wanted to be a vet, and then I did work experience, and I went into a veterinary clinic, and I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. It was, and then I sort of started thinking about it. It actually wasn't until I went to a university open day, actually, and they had like this tiny little booth, like little thing like this, and it was a tiny little poster that said, you know, make a living making video games. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that was possible.
Yeah.
Never even clicked with me that was people's careers and their jobs. And I instantly like changed all of my preferences over, like completely redirected everything at the last minute, and yeah, moved to Brisbane. And
wow, so it is possible to make a living out of game developing.
It is, yes. It's difficult. It's very difficult, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Of course, after Fruit Ninja, you progressed on,
Yes.
and you developed new games and also created a new enterprise as well.
That's right. So beginning of last year, myself and Hugh Walters and Phil Larson, who were also at Half Brick, we all left and started a new studio.
Yeah.
We sort of got to that point where, you know, we wanted that next challenge, and, you know, what better way to do it than try and start something ourselves from scratch and sort of start it all again, start from the very beginning and build it up. So yeah, it's been exciting.
Because most of the time, someone who has built a business up goes, yeah, that's good, I'll just sell it off and live off that. Not many go back and start all over again.
Well, I wasn't actually one of the owners of Half Brick, so I was at Half Brick because everyone knows them for Fruit Ninja. Half Brick had been around for about maybe 8 years before Fruit Ninja.
Right.
I myself had been there for maybe 4 years before Fruit Ninja, making games that no one's ever heard of. And so, you know, they'd actually been around for... It's one of those things where it's like, you know, is a overnight success story, 10 years in the making.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, when people did know about you, which was Fruit Ninja Point, I mean, as you said, there was lots of water under the bridges and lots of games too.
Yeah, a lot of experience and a lot of failures before that as well, and minor successes, and always building towards that thing. So
was there a time before Fruit Ninja came along that you thought, nah, this is not working out, I can't keep doing this?
Oh yeah, a lot of times. I almost quit the industry maybe 3 times before Fruit Ninja.
Wow.
Just when things are really hard and you just think, this can't possibly be worth it.
Yeah. Of course, after Fruit Ninja, we had Jetpack Joyride.
Yes, that's right.
Once again, another game that really went global, didn't it?
Yeah, I sort of can't believe our luck in some ways that Jetpack Joyride did so well. And I mean, you know, although Fruit Ninja is that kind of bigger franchise that more people know, Jetpack Joyride was actually a lot more critically successful. Won a lot of awards, won the Apple Design Award in San Francisco, and it was you know, just the whole thing again. You're just kind of on this crazy roller coaster of
with all of this global success, you're still pretty down to earth. You still live in Brisbane.
That's right.
So you know, you must sort of, you know, be able to disconnect yourself from the fame, the glory, and the business at times.
You sort of don't feel. It's funny, like the success, you don't feel successful a lot of the time, because, you know, if they're, you know, when we were doing Fruit Ninja and you get the reports would come in and they're like, hey, we just hit 500 million downloads. It's sort of like the number doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
You know, like it just doesn't even, and it's just
surreal.
And it's just a number on a spreadsheet, and it's sort of, you know, it's not like you're seeing those 500 million for a billion or whatever it is at now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think anything good comes from getting swept up in that and thinking that I think it's important to kind of, you know, stay hungry and, you know, want more and constantly be striving.
Well, it's been a pretty great career already, and now that's the name of the new enterprise. Pretty great.
Yes, yeah. When we set the name, we spent a long time trying to come up with a name. And we kind of said it jokingly, pretty great. And we were like, man, if we make anything that's not good, you know, you can see the headlines. It'll be like, pretty great, not so great after all. We'll get completely dragged over the coals for it. And we thought that's actually kind of a cool way for us to approach it, is like set ourselves to that standard and hold
Yeah.
ourselves accountable in that way. So
Well, you've set a high standard with the latest project, which is, of course, Slide the Shakes.
yes, thank you. Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that.
So Slide the Shakes was a funny one. It was actually, so we started the studio. First thing we did was fly to San Francisco and go to the Game Developers Conference over there. And then we came back and we didn't have an office. We didn't have anything. We were actually working on our laptops on my balcony at home. And we were learning all these new tools and everything. So, it was literally day 3, I think, of the studio being started up, and we're like, we're just going to make a prototype to learn some things. And our artist Hugh had this idea of like, hey, let's just make this little simple thing where you slide milkshakes along a bar. And we made that in 2 days, and we're like, wow, this is actually pretty good. So we kind of put that on the back burner for a while, and we ended up doing another game first, Landsliders, which was a bit bigger and more ambitious in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then after that wrapped up, we sort of came back and we're like, hey, remember that one we made on the back deck? Maybe we should do that one. And yeah, so...
Well, it has been pretty great. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And all the very best for the continued success of what you have created all around you with these games.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. And you can check out the latest, Slide the Shakes, which is my next app that I'm going to download. And you can check it out on iOS or, of course, on Android. Well, of course, it is music time now here on Connected, and a very special treat for you. We have local singer-songwriter Mark Sholtez, who's teaming up with Bruce, Haley, and from their latest album, Edge of the Known World, here they are with If I Had a Lifeboat.
If I had a lifeboat, I'd put it in the water now. Try to climb aboard it now as the ship goes down. And if I had a getaway car, I'd probably give the signal now. Climbing through the window now and speed on out. I'm not ready to grow up. I'm not ready to not be young. I'm not ready to think that much. I'm not ready to grow up. If I had a rocket ship, I'd find someone to start the count. Climb into my spacesuit now, count me down. Watch me burst out of this atmosphere. No gravity to bring me round. I can almost touch the stars from here. I'm not ready to grow up. I'm not ready to not be young. I'm not ready to think that much. I'm not ready to grow up. If I had a rocket ship, if I had a getaway car, if I had a lifeboat, if I had a lifeboat.
A great song from Mark Sholtez and If I Had a Lifeboat from his album Edge of a Known World. Thank you very much to all of the guys there, and also thank you for joining us. What has been a great show. Luke Muscat, the man behind Half Brick, and of course Fruit Ninja, and of course our artist Kylie Farrelly as well, who joined us. So thank you to all of them, and thank you to you. From all of us here at Connected, we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.